As a Christian community and as Christian individuals, we grapple with this idea that God has given us so much grace that we don't need to do anything to earn His love. But also, we've been given free will and we need to choose to walk in His love and accept His love and grace. Now, the best way I can sort of explain this is through the lens of sin, because obviously as Christians, that's one of the fundamental things we struggle with in our relationship with God. Now, the underlying principle we need to understand is that we will not get closer to God or get rid of our sin through our own strength, but rather by submitting to Him and allowing Him to work in our lives. Now, the difficult part with that is that obviously with the way Christians are, the way humans are in general, and the way the culture is that we all kind of tend to swing one way or the other, and we kind of have this struggle between, I learned the terms, there's legalism and then there's abnomianism. I don't know how to say it, but basically legalism is like saved through works, like you have to like what the Pharisees were doing, you have to do things to get to earn God's love and to get into heaven. And then abnomianism is the other side, where people are all just like, oh, it doesn't matter what I do, I'll get into heaven because God has forgiven me. Now, obviously, we can kind of see the issue with abnomianism, that obviously that's wrong, because, you know, there's lots of commandments that God has given us. And yes, we go to heaven through Jesus and through Jesus alone. But Jesus also commanded us to take up our own cross. Now, we struggle with the other side, where it's like legalism, right? I have to do things to earn God's love, and when I sin, I'm far away from God, and when I don't sin, I'm closer to God. But really, none of those things are true. Right? We are sinful creatures regardless. And I think the important thing to notice is that when you have sinned, you're no further or closer to God than you are when you feel like you haven't sinned. Because even when you haven't sinned, because of the way we are and because we have a sinful nature, you're still sinning. Like, it's not like when I've sinned or when I've done a bad sin, right? Which is another thing we like to do as Christians, is to categorize sins. It's not like when I do a bad sin, I'm far away from God, or I'm like here. And then when I'm good, you know, when I feel like I've been doing pretty well recently, I'm like here. No, because even when you feel like you're doing pretty well, like because of the way you are as a human, you're sinning somehow. Like, you're always going to be sinning. Like, there's always the sin of pride, sin of anger. Like, when Jesus tells us to take up our own cross, that is not light. Like, Jesus took up that cross for all of us, because that's how heavy it was. And when we have to take up our own cross, it's about us completely submitting to Him. Now, what I was getting at with discussing the underlying principle is that you will not get over your sin through your own strength, right? You will not earn God's love through your own strength, but rather just completely submitting yourself to God, like allowing God to like work in your life, right? So you can live in His grace and His love, and then through that you are changed, right? So you will not go out there being like, I'm gonna stop doing this, I'm starting tomorrow, I'm gonna stop doing this, and I'm gonna stop doing this sin, and eventually I'll be good enough for God. Because read the Bible, bro. We'll never be good enough for God, just the way we are. That's why Jesus had to come and die for us, right? It's not that, but it's get closer to God, right? Take up your own cross. And what taking up your own cross means is that you're completely like surrendering yourself. You're killing your old self, right? Like what Paul talks about. You know, you're getting rid of your old self and you're allowing the Holy Spirit to flow through you, right? That's what taking up your own cross means. You know, you're not giving into your old nature. Like, you're killing your old self, basically, to put it simply, right? And when you do that, it means you're completely submitting to Jesus and you allow Jesus to work through your life, right? So that has to happen. You need Jesus, of course. You need Jesus in order for you to like live in his grace. But the issue is that if you wait for that to happen, it's never going to happen. You can't just wait and be like, okay, I'm going to wait for Jesus to start working in my life. Because Jesus commanded us to take up our own cross. So you need to take that step. You need to take that step of faith, right? Think of Peter when he walked on water through, obviously, Jesus' power. Like, he had to have the faith to take the step onto the water, right? It's a similar thing with us walking into His grace, right? Peter did not walk on the water through his own strength. And you'll notice that when he took his eyes off of Jesus and he tried to rely on his own strength, he fell. He fell on the water, right? Peter did not walk on the water through his own strength. He walked through Jesus' strength. But he needed to take that step forward. He needed to take that step to be like, Lord, if it's really you, I know if you say it, I can walk on this water, right? And then Jesus said, come. And then he took the step. We need to take the step into Jesus' grace. And then he does everything, right? It's us submitting ourselves to Him. But us submitting ourselves to Him means us taking a step. If you wait to feel like overcoming your sin, you will never overcome it, right? And the thing is, as I've said, you're not going to overcome the sin through your own strength. You're going to overcome it through Jesus' strength. But you're not just going to wait and just sit here and be like, okay, Jesus, come work in my life, right? You need to, as Jesus said, take up your own cross. Take that step to be like, Lord, I surrender to you. Please come in my life and do as you will. That's what we're supposed to do. We can't keep waiting for us to feel like doing it. We have to take that step and then live in his grace. But yeah, that's all for the video. You guys let me know what you think of the topic in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe to join the self-improvement community. And until next time, I'll see you guys.